Island in western Washington, the United States, and today is the anniversary of the birth of Ananda's founder, Swami Kriyananda, who was a direct disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda in the final years of Yogananda's life. Swami Kriyananda was personally trained and guided by Yogananda in those last years and commissioned to do a great work, as Yogananda used the term. And so we celebrate around the world and have already begun in India, which is, 13 hours or whatever it is ahead of us. And so we also here on the West Coast, this evening here at the Camino Hermitage, are doing a program on Zoom, which is open to the public, with inspiration readings and lots of music to celebrate our founder's life and legacy. I guess you could say we are his legacy to some extent, but hopefully we can celebrate something greater than just ourselves. At the end of today's talk, I'd like to play a message from Paramahansa Yogananda, but I'll come to that a little bit later. We continue with the original Lessons of Yogananda, starting with his first correspondence course, which he called at the time the Yogoda Lessons. And I'm on lesson 11, which is Psychoanalysis and Dreams. A curious lesson indeed. So he makes the statement that self-analysis is the greatest method of progress. I think he means that principally is human progress towards maturity and self-understanding. I don't think he's meaning that in terms of finding God, so to speak. But without it, he says, man becomes a living machine. And certainly to the general public to whom his lessons were given and his talks and lectures around the country, there would certainly be a high percentage of people who were maybe curious about this Swami from India and had some more than curiosity, but probably were living pretty ordinary lives, families and careers and so on in the 1920s and 30s. Then he goes on to say that I love this expression. All of his rational faculties, all of our rational faculties have a deeper significance than in just keeping the body animal. Remember that phrase, the body animal, well-fed and well-clothed. It is also necessary to do so, but there are higher needs of the soul, which should also be fulfilled. Then he goes on to make a curious statement. He says, suffering is the greatest teacher. Business failure starts satisfied people to think more deeply. Disease, unhappiness in family and social life makes wealthy people think. Death makes everybody think. And so these things, he goes on to say, do not occur by chance. Self-analysis tells one of the nature of one's difficulties. Now, he wrote a booklet that I think you can even buy. It's been reproduced probably on Amazon along with these Yogoda lessons. But it's called the Psychological Chart. And in it, one takes an inventory of one's habits and attitudes in different departments of daily life. And I used to, when I gave classes in this and used this chart, I would say, in the old days, we'd go to a shopping mall. I haven't been to a shopping mall in many years, but you'd go to a shopping mall, at least I would, and I would look at that reader board and to look to where, Nordstrom was or some electronics store more likely. And I could find the store on the chart, but it was of no use unless I could find the little red dot that said, you are here. And so we can't really make progress unless we become self-aware. And it has been rightly said down through the ages by many sages that to know thyself is the goal of life. And we can start with knowing thyself from a purely psychological standpoint as a good starting point. So here are some of the things he suggests you do an inventory about. Your good, bad, and active qualities, which, by the way, is sattva, raja, and tamoguna for those of you who are students of yogic philosophy. Analyze the kind and quality of your memory, your feelings, emotions, the quality of your willpower. Are you more passive or are you more aggressive? And all the states in between. What are your inclinations in your career, in your monetary success or magnetism? I remember Swami Kriyananda in his training of us would sometimes bring up if we were needing to fulfill a position in one of our Ananda departments, particularly one that involved a fair amount of financial, you might say, savvy or whatever, abilities anyway, he would say, well, look at that person's financial karma. What magnetism? Do they illustrate a success magnetism or a poverty consciousness or a failure magnetism? Analyze your dominant habits, your health, and things that cause ill health in you. What sort of emotions are you inflicted by? Fear, anger, jealousy? Analyze that. How is your married life or your single life and your relations to other people? What are some of your instincts and hereditary tendencies? You might be of a certain ethnic background that has certain inclinations or ways of being. Your instincts, of course, can vary widely. And also, what is your relationship to your national identification, your cultural identification, your patriotic identification? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? And why is that? Just because you were born into that or something more? What are some of the things that make it difficult for you to succeed? What causes unhappiness in your life or troubles with other people? And how are you doing in contacting God? What is your progress? So this kind of self-questioning is a very good thing to do. If you go on retreat, in the old days prior to COVID, many of us would go for a retreat, typically a week, go off with other people or by yourself, it doesn't matter. And it would be an excellent time to take an inventory of your life and your tendencies, to step back from yourself like a psychoanalyst or a therapist and take a look at this animal body of yours and its habits. So then he moves on to dreams, and he has some very curious statements I want to read to you. First off, one that I actually heard this morning in a talk given by a non-dualist in South India. He used the exact same phrase, so it made me curious. Yogananda writes, dreams are produced by the life energy passing through the film of experiences which are preserved in the subconscious mind. So imagine the life force as a kind of light, an intelligent light. And in the dream state, rather in the subconscious state of sleep, that light passes through this amalgamation of all these subconscious impressions, experiences we've had, and they light up, usually in a jungle and a jumble of nonsense. But nonetheless, it's a curious way of putting it, but that's just the beginning. The next two sentences are blockbusters. He writes, superconscious experiences can produce realistic dreams or visions. So what is he talking about? So if in meditation, especially after you finish your techniques, or perhaps in the middle of your techniques, whatever, if you are lifted into a superconscious state of deep inner peace, flowing sense of all-pervading joy or love, if you are lifted into a superconscious state, that will in turn energize in other words, it's like the light of superconsciousness filters all the way, not just into the conscious mind as you experience that state, but down into the subconscious mind. And that life force, that light he talked about earlier, can produce dreams that are more useful and even visions. So if in your superconscious meditation experience you have the feeling of the presence of Jesus or one of the masters, for example, then it might be that they will come to you in vision during the sleep state. The next sentence he says, equally interesting, visions are given, and can be produced by will and concentration. That's very curious. Well, think of a saint, like Saint Francis or any number of saints, who are praying very deeply to their guru. Saint Francis, to use my example, praying to Jesus. Jesus appears. Saint Teresa of Avila, praying deeply. Jesus appears. That's what he's saying. Now, remember, he says that while you're dreaming, you are not resting. That's a very interesting statement. I think the science of sleep has already proven this fact, that until we enter a non-dream state, we don't really rest completely. So he said this long before sleep was studied scientifically. Dreams must not be imposed upon you. Isn't that curious? You must be able to dream at will by producing a perfect state of passivity. I'm going to sort of touch on this and read parts of this because it all fits into a whole. In order to do that, however, you have to basically empty your mind. Do not allow thoughts, memories, habits, blah, 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 to pull your attention away. Free your attention from everything, and then put it on the thing you want to dream about, and the desired dream will follow if no thoughts are allowed to intrude upon your attention. That's a real curious kind of thing. The way I interpret that is, let's say you're laying there, don't lie, before bed, and what happens is you want to dream about something. I don't know why you'd want to dream about anything, but let's say you do. And in fact, I did this last night. I went to bed and I said, I want to dream about Swami Kriyananda because today is his birthday. Meaning during the night it would be today. And I did. I had a dream about him. But you'll have to wait for tonight's program to hear more about that. Okay. Finally, I'll finish up. We do have superconscious dreams, and they have a certain quality. He doesn't really talk about the qualities of it, but Swami Kriyananda often did because he had many superconscious dreams. And there's a clarity. It doesn't mean you're getting a vision in a visual sense. Dreams can come in all sorts of ways. It can come with words, of course. Lots of people sort of hear a sentence or an instruction or a command given to them. But superconscious dreams impress upon your mind, even though you're in mostly the subconscious state. They impress upon your mind an enhanced clarity that the ordinary jumble of dreams do not possess. And whereas when we wake up, we almost instantly forget some of those jumbled, silly dreams. With superconscious dreams, we don't forget. They stick with us. We may not know what they mean, but we know they're important. There's something about them. The superconscious, the soul, will use the receptivity of the subconscious state to inform us or warn us of things we need to know on a soul level. Because in the conscious state, we're so busy and active mentally that we don't hear the whispers from eternity. So sleep is very often the most efficient manner by which the superconscious, the soul, Divine Mother, God, etc., can give us, an angel came to Joseph as he slept and told him to marry marry, or to flee to Egypt, etc. Okay. But he does go on to say meaningless dreams should be avoided. Well, I'm not sure how you avoid them, but don't wish to dream, but try to have visions of realities in the third eye, or the light by which you see by practicing the Om technique. Well, he doesn't really give us a lot of information about all this stuff, but avoiding subconscious meaningly, dreams, there go the two eagles. I can see them, they're circling right outside my window. That's a good sign. Thank you. But your diet and eating late, eating spicy food, there's all sorts of things that can affect your sleep at night, including, here he comes. You gonna land in that tree right there, old buddy? Yep, he is. There he is. His mate's off doing something else, though. And so we can program our dreams. That's the teaching you get from all corners, which is that you lay down to sleep, do so calmly, watch your breath. In other words, put away from your mind the busyness of the days so that your mind is not so active. I think I'll stop there because I'd like to play these couple of minutes of Yogananda, that his words at a birthday party, one of his last birthday parties. But I'm not playing it because it's his birthday, but because it's Swami Kriyananda's birthday. And what I'd like you to do is imagine that Yogananda's words are the words of Swami Kriyananda from his state, wherever he may be. So let's listen. Let's listen to this. Ready?
My age is written on the candle. It's only one. Make my wish, but I have no wish. All right, the wish for you all. I didn't know there was so much joy and fun in having birthdays. It is because of your joy I enjoy so much. Words are inadequate to express what I feel. I remember when I went to India in 1935 and 36, I remembered what Jesus said and why he said, "Who is my father, who is my mother, sister and brother, but who loves God?" And with great awe I felt all those of you whose life I have lived, each one of you, and the joy of your spiritual growth had been so impinged in my consciousness that I felt my real brothers and sisters are those who love God.
Okay. Swami Kriyananda has a great family in you and I, and we are his spiritual children. We are his family, a true family in God. Okay, great souls. Maybe we'll see you tonight. We broadcast on Zoom at 7 o'clock. You can call our office or email us if you don't have access to that Zoom link. And it'll probably be posted afterwards, I imagine, as a recording for those of you elsewhere. And tomorrow, let's see what Padma gets to talk to you about tomorrow. Today is Wednesday. Step 12, Occult Vision and the Metaphysics of Cosmic Consciousness. How can you possibly resist that topic? Occult vision. Kind of an old-fashioned phrase. Okay.